We have Katie Gayle from the Calabasas office. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
Hello, hello. And we have Jessica Diaz from the Calabasas office. Jessica. And Jessica Coyle from the Long Beach office.
Hi, guys.
Hello, hello. And then this is Susan at the top over here of the screen. Susan is with Mommy High Five, which is .com, which is an awesome website and resource. And she was so incredibly responsive in a matter of minutes. She said, "Cool, that sounds like a good thing, and you guys are awesome." And she's able to was able to join us on the call. How cool that is, right? So the stage is yours, ladies. I'm gonna move to like a speaker view so you can see, whoever was chatting the most. But jump in and share, kind of like what are you up to? Like how do you handle and how do you interact with the kids, and what is solution? Some of you homeschooling, some of you like your kids in the room all day. That was a joke. Some of you, have different resources or whatever. Yeah, she's like, yeah, maybe I do. Go for it. Go for it. Katie, you're first. Goes on the screen.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Gayle. I have two kids, 14 and 16, which makes it a little bit easier, I think. But they've also been homeschooling or doing online school for the last 4 years. So they've kind of been set up for this. They haven't missed much of a beat as far as their schooling is, but they have had to get used to me being home and in their space and vice versa. So that's been a unique new challenge. But I think some of the things that have worked super well for us is just creating our own spaces to work within. And I know a lot of the things that we're and resources we've been getting from KW have been huge and underscore this as well. That you create a space that you can work efficiently in and effectively, and it's even separate if possible from either being able to take it down or shut it off completely from the rest of your everyday life. So we each have a space that we work that they do their online school from, and they have a very set schedule. If you haven't, had the ability to homeschool before, this is all new, that's going to be something that will be really helpful. And I'm sure, now we're week 4, you've probably already established some of those routines. But I think first and foremost, I think it's really important for us to remember there is no playbook for this. We've not, for the most part, none of us have been in this boat before. We're all experiencing this storm together, but we are in different boats and we are experiencing it differently. In many ways. So I think having grace for yourself and for the kids and vice versa, because we need it from them as well. Just keeping that in mind, I think is the biggest thing. And if I could say, success, my definition of success would be maintaining a level of wellness and shalom in the home. I think then keeping communication and connection is really going to be key in that. So I don't know how much you want me to share at this point. I'd like to, meet the others.
We're gonna circle back and just once again to mention those who just keep joining us and watching. How old are your kids?
14 and 16.
14 and 16. Okay, cool. Okay, so remember that 14, 16. We're definitely gonna go back to you, Jessica Diaz.
Hi.
Hey,
So,
yeah, go for it.
thanks for including me in this, Minnie. It's definitely a new experience for me. Having my kids in a homeschool setting is not something I've ever thought about doing. So, my kids have a big age gap. So I'm kind of on one end of the spectrum like Katie. I've got a 13-year-old who can kind of fend for himself, but he is a pain in the butt to get to do his work. So I have to be on him a little more, but luckily his school has put an online platform where I have it on my phone too, so I can see what his assignments are and just make sure I'm on top of him and get them done. So he's a little easier. I have a 5-year-old in kindergarten, so he's got his teacher doing a few Zoom calls, and then they've just given us assignments that, it's a lot of work for the parents. There's a lot of daily assignments. So we just have to manage those. And I decided because they just got off spring break, I said, okay, it was pajama day all day when we first started quarantine. And this week I'm like, okay, you know what? Shower in the morning. Let's start a schedule. And, I'm trying my hardest to try to stick to it. So I'm making them get up, eat breakfast, shower like a normal school day. And then, it's not perfect. I'm not sitting there and it's like, hey, it's school hour all day, because some of their assignments I have, KW things I'm doing in between or other things, and I've got to hop on. So we're just managing, and I don't think you should be too hard on yourself if you don't have it down perfect. You have to manage your own schedule of work and the kids at the same time. So do what works best for you, and that's kind of where I am.
That's awesome. Yeah. So your point is you pretty much brought routine back
A little bit.
into the life, from like everyday pajama to okay, there's not now routine, because spring break is pretty much a 6-month break right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And your kids, once again, how old? What are the ages?
One is 13 in middle school, 7th grade, and the other one is 5 in kindergarten.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you got it all. Awesome. We'll get back to you as well in a few moments. Jessica, Coyle, Long Beach.
Hi guys. So sort of going on with like what these ladies have been talking about, I think routine has probably been the most important thing that you need to keep. Kids really do crave like a set schedule and consistency, which is what they got at school. Katie, I don't know how you have them at home. Good for you. It's not ever anything that I ever wanted to do. But we have 3 teenagers in the house. We have 2 in college. They don't count. They just cost me a lot of money. But we have a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and 16-year-old at home. And so I make them get up instead of at 6 o'clock, how they normally would.
Wait, can you please repeat that? Can you please repeat it again? What do you have at home?
Brand new 13 as of last week, a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old. So
Okay.
it's a lot. It's a lot. But like I said, I let them sleep in, and they're pretty good because they're older. I remember the kindergarten days a long time ago. But they sleep in until about 8, and so they get up at 8, and then my 13-year-old is pretty much done with his schoolwork before 9 o'clock, and the other 2 are probably done before 11 o'clock. So once they're like finished with their school, then they can relax a little bit. I always make sure that we still do like a PE time, so that's usually in the afternoon after I've done what I need to do for my business, and then we just get outside and have some vitamin D exposure, just to help them get out of the house too, and get all of us out of the house, because we'd still be in pajamas all day if we could. But I think it's really important to do have the routines in place and have them have some sense of structure. Like my daughter is 16, and she really was mourning that loss of structure when we first switched over to homeschooling. And so we just kind of had to implement okay, this is the time you need to be doing stuff, for school. This is the time you can talk to your friends or whatever it is, so that they feel more secure with what's going on. Because like Katie was saying, we're all in this together. We have no idea what we're doing. We're just trying to navigate through and figure out what works for us. And so, yeah, give yourself some grace, and the kids are going to drive you crazy, period. And we will get through this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're gonna get back to you as well. So Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hey, good to have you as well. Susan, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the website and what you guys are doing? You ladies are doing.
Yes. So I am with mommyhighfive.com, and we have the mission of trying to make life a little bit easier and simpler for families. And right now that seems to be something we all probably need. I have 4 kids, and they are 17, 15, 11, and 9.
Wow.
Our oldest child has special needs, and so that plays a little bit, gives us a little bit of a different dynamic sometimes. But I think the thing I'm learning the most during this time of pandemic is just that kids are resilient, but they're also experiencing this like we are. This is the first time for them to be experiencing this, and I'm trying to take myself back to being their age and what I was worrying about then was not this. It wasn't nearly this concerning. It wasn't nearly this serious. And so I think if we can be a little bit understanding of their situation and try to make things as normal as possible, or at least recognizing that this isn't an easy thing, and maybe we need to adjust our expectations sometimes, and maybe we need to decide, you know what, it's noon and they've done their schoolwork and we're going to just party the rest of the day. It doesn't always have to be serious and structured, and sometimes all of us need a break, and we need to take a step back and just realize life can be fun and we can make the best of what we're doing right now, whether we're home or not. This is the life that we have, and we don't have a lot of choice, but we can choose how we spend our time.
Yeah, well said, and for sure, you definitely have the experience out there as well. What kind of not in any particular order, you can start, Susan, and then the rest of the group. What kind of fun activities you find most, I don't want to say just like fun because the kids just want to have fun and that's it. Like I would say a mix of like fun but also productive that you guys find in those times.
Okay, well, we had spring break a couple weeks ago, and typically our family likes to do some sort of adventure during spring break, whether that's taking a road trip to a national park or flying across the country to explore something new. So we decided we wanted to do something fun, but obviously we're stuck at home. So we decided to do a trip around the world from home.
Okay.
So I had the kids sit down with me and we talked about countries that they are interested in visiting someday and learning about. So we chose 5 different countries, and each day we spent learning about a country. We did activities. So one of the days was Mexico, and we made a homemade piñata, and we decided we were trying not to go to the grocery store, and so we tried to just use things we had at home. So we made a homemade piñata out of macaroni and cheese boxes and cereal boxes, and then we covered it in tin foil and filled it with the candy that we had, and they had a great time beating it open. And then we made homemade empanadas for dinner, which we had never tried before. We learned a little bit about Chichen Itza, and we watched some YouTube videos about it. It was a really fun week. We ate things we had never tried before, and some of them were successful, and some of them the kids didn't especially love, but it was fun to have some new experiences and kind of forget about being stuck at home during spring break.
That's awesome. So, so what you guys did is a trip around the world, and you picked up random countries that you wanted to go and explore, and you also made homemade food by the country that you're, like the theme food or what have you, and then you just went and saw a movie or other site that has anything to do with this country, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome idea. That's great. Jessica, what about you?
Which one?
You pick.
I'll go.
Go for it.
So, kind of piggybacking on what she's saying, my 5-year-old is insanely creative, and he is obsessed with holidays. So we've had kind of the same thing. Like, I made a whole from scratch Chinese dinner. We made a Chinese restaurant at home, and then he decided it was Easter the first day we got on quarantine, so I had to give him half his basket and do everything. And then we had a party. I decorated for Trolls because they had the premiere on Friday, so we rented the Trolls movie, and just every day is something with him. So it's fun to decorate the house with whatever we have, like she was saying, and celebrate a random holiday or or do anything, or like go in the neighborhood. And I've done the scavenger hunts. I posted one on my Instagram, for people, and that was fun, going through the neighborhood and doing things like that. It's kind of endless with my little one, so that part is fun. And then I always make sure, like Jessica said, we do PE every day, so their boys are either playing in the basketball court or skateboarding, and so we've been doing a lot of skateboarding.
Yeah, that's awesome. Katie, what about you?
Well, you ladies are so creative. Maybe it's the ages of mine. I don't know. Maybe I'm past that. I've lost my creative bug. I don't know. But we are doing a lot of cooking, of things that we've not made before. Not necessarily country specific, but I love that idea, and I think I'm going to implement that. So thank you. So we've been doing a lot of cooking, and I kind of went old school. We pulled out a 3,000-piece puzzle on day 10, and we joke because we feel like we're in like Count of Monte Cristo or something. We're counting the days, day 10, day 11, day 12 of quarantine. But we worked on that for weeks. We just finished it last week. A lot of outdoor time as well, riding bikes in the neighborhood and walking the dog and things like that. But we also have really been intentional about just connecting on a daily basis, kind of like check-ins. It's not necessarily a fun activity. We find it fun because it's connecting. And again, I think to echo what Susan said about recognizing that they're going through what we're going through, and just making sure we're kind of doing that, temperature reading on where they are, just emotionally speaking. And nobody's a stranger to the grief and loss curve, right, where you denial and anger and depression, and then you gradually go into acceptance and whatnot, and then we bounce all over the board. One day I'm fully in acceptance and on to new beginnings, and the next day I'm down in the dumps. Well, they are too sometimes. So that's something that we're doing on a regular basis, those check-ins that keep us, I think, honestly, keep the morale up, because we're talking about the hard things. So that's one of the activities, though it's not a fun and creative one. It's a meaningful one. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Jessica, what about you? Coyle.
Well, I'm happy to hear all these ideas, because we're kind of doing the same thing in our house too. We're pretty creative family. But, all my kids, they all have their own phones. And so like 2 weeks ago, they were different parts of the house, and they all started like shouting out like some answers or asking each other these questions. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, Grandma is texting us, and she started texting the kids different clues to lead them to a different place, like around the world. And so they had a scheduled Zoom call like on that Friday to reveal the place, make sure they got it right. And then my mom and dad did this really cute thing, and like we brought in a cousin from Chile. They did a whole thing about this monster from France, so they're doing these cool things. And so now the kids are in charge of the clues. So this week we'll have to see where we end up going. But it's sort of that same vein of traveling around the world and then getting everybody involved and staying connected. And so, on top of if we watch a movie, like say a Ratatouille, that one is an easier one, but then you can make the food that comes from the movie, and so everyone's in the kitchen and we're getting fat, and so we're just doing our thing.
You think?
Try not to.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool idea for a game too, for sure. Yeah. Susan, let me ask you. So you guys are pretty significant funnel for a lot of mommies around the country, maybe even around the world, I guess. What kind of ideas you see out there? Because you guys are also posting stuff on your platform often. So anything you can share from out there in the world?
Yes.
Ideas.
Yeah. So we've kind of broken it up into a few different categories. We've talked a little bit about creative outlets for kids. Something that I've done a few times is I just collect whatever craft supplies we have. I put them on the kitchen table and let the kids do what they want with them. That's been a fun experience for them. I think for teenagers, it's a little bit trickier because they're not necessarily liking all of the same things that the younger kids do. So we have found a few different websites that kids can go to and do some fun things that are educational as far as teenagers go. One of those is a career aptitude test. I know my teenagers have had a lot of fun with that, where you take the test, you answer the questions, and it tells you what possible career might be a good fit for you. There are also ACT and SAT prep classes that are available right now. Some of them are free. You can take a pre-ACT or SAT test. I know that some of these kids are, at least my kids, some of them are getting bored with the schoolwork that they've been assigned. It's not quite as rigorous as what they're used to. And sometimes they just want to relax and have fun. So some of the other ideas that we had for teenagers is learning some DIY skills at home. We've talked about giving my 15-year-old a paintbrush and a roller and letting him go paint his bedroom, which isn't something that I probably would have been willing to do before, but he is excited about it, and it's something that he can learn how to do. We can do it together, and I think thinking outside of the box a little bit. We've talked a little bit about physical activities as far as PE type activities. I know some people live in a place that they don't have a yard to get out into. There are a lot of activities that we've tried at home as far as dancing. We've had dance-offs with neighbors and cousins where we record ourselves dancing and we send it to them and say, can you do better than this? And the kids have had a great time with that. The teenagers are really getting into that. So some of those kinds of things where they're still connecting with other people. We've tried some service types of opportunities. We have a lot of neighbors who are elderly and they are wanting to be able to get out in their yards, but they can't. So we've gone and, cleaned up flower beds and that kind of thing. That's been a good experience. It gets the kids out of the house. It gets some fresh air. It gets some of their energy out, because by the end of the day, if my boys haven't gotten some energy out, we're all suffering from it. So I think some of those things, thinking outside of the box and being willing to try new things, try old things, maybe try something that you haven't done for a while, letting them put a new spin on things, or letting some of the older kids teach a younger kid a new skill.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Thank you. And everybody kind of like are nodding yes, we hear you, and the likes on Facebook, and so let me ask you then, once again, not any specific order, but all of you ladies, at least the agent among you, need to sell houses in between, right? You have buyers, you have sellers. How do you juggle between the full-time mommy and the dads out there, full-time dad, or in between, two parents, to do all the tasks of following up with clients and the eye care calls and text and messages and the follow-up and virtual showings and taking new listings and all the good stuff? How do you juggle that between, and Susan, you can also add as well from your point of view as well. Jessica, Katie, just go for it, whoever.
I have always had no choice. You've seen my son at the office, so he's kind of always been in the mix with me. So luckily he doesn't scream in the background anymore when I make calls, which he used to do. So it used to be really hard to make calls. Now I can set him up doing something else in the house. So if I have to make a call or, looking for things, I just kind of juggle it. And most of my clients, unless they're brand new and haven't met him yet, they've been introduced to him and somehow he finds his way in there. So, I'm just honest with my clients and let them know, I have my kids here, and most of them are really accepting of it. So
yeah, they have their kids with them too. So
yeah,
everybody's got kids in the background now. It's awesome when you're calling people.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And
How,
mine
how
are,
do you juggle, Jessica?
go ahead, Jeff.
Oh,
Oh, you know, just sort of same thing as the other Jess was saying, like, uh, you know, the kids have like really grown up around my business, so they know like, okay, mom has to be on the phone or mom has to call, and they, you know, they don't care. I just have to make sure like they're not, I mean, some, you know, crazy Fortnite video game in the background or something. But again, you know, giving each other the grace, right? I call the client and they have the same thing in the background. So it's something then that also helps build more rapport with the client if you didn't necessarily have it before, because now we're all in this same, you know, crazy new world that we're trying to figure out. So
Yeah. Yeah, and mine are of the age too that they just know it's built into my schedule at different times of the day, and when it's not at a scheduled time, I'm just like, okay, I'm out, or I go upstairs, or I leave the room, or whatever, and I manage that. So it's not been too bad yet. So
yeah. Susan, do you want to add from your point of view?
Well, for me, it's easiest if I can get my work done while my kids are doing their schoolwork, and they can kind of know these are the hours in the morning that I'm going to be working, and hopefully by the time I'm at a good stopping place, they are either finished with their schoolwork or they've done as much as they can without help. And I think that's been a helpful thing for me. Also, getting up a little bit earlier than they do so that I can do some things before they're needing my attention has helped as well.
Is that rude to ask how early?
How early they're getting up?
How early are you getting up?
They are getting up before all of this. They would be up at 6, but I'm letting them sleep in till about 7:30 or 8. So I'm usually up and going about 6:30ish.
Okay, the reason I asked just because just to understand like what kind of routine looks like, because I think what a lot of parents out there are looking is how do you structure a routine, and even if it's like fun and random and casual, whatever, it still should be somewhat structured. That's number one. And number two is how do you and Susan, you kind of like touched it a little bit, is how do you set the boundaries, or how do you set the tone to, okay, now it's work time for me as well. So you mentioned, Susan, well, when they do their homework and their assignment, that's where I do my job, right? So is that how the rest of you are doing the same thing, or do you have different systems, or it's more like casual?
our setup is very similar here at the Gayle home. I get up pretty early as well. I'll get up between 5:30 and 6 to just give myself a good amount of time before they're up. Again, they're the age they're pretty self-sufficient, so they don't need a lot, and they've been doing their school routine for a while, so that definitely plays to my benefit. But I have found, because I'm here now instead of commuting and whatnot, that getting up, and having a couple hours before they are up, it's just my time, quiet. And that's pretty much the routine. Is my work time is kind of coincides with their school time. And if possible, we try to lunch break together, or at least overlap, so we get a little connection time in the middle of the day. But that seems to work really well, because then we can have our family time in the evening as much as possible.
yeah, we have sort of the same thing going on over here too. We just kind of, just go in the flow, like you said, still have a structure. So, the kids are done probably by like 11ish, and then I'll power through, from like the 8 to like noonish, and then the afternoon is available either to like bop around with the kids and find, do something fun, or if I have clients booked or whatever, sort of fill in the gaps. So.
Yeah. What kind of, Jessica, go ahead.
Oh, I said that's pretty much the same for me. I still getting up. My little one's still waking me up at 6. So we're getting up early and trying to do as many things in the morning as we can. Yeah.
Once again, how old is your youngest one, Jessica?
Oh, youngest is 5.
5, yeah.
Don't
So
ask him.
if you had to, go ahead.
What's that? Oh, I was
No,
saying
if you had, sorry, we're talking over each other. If you had to give an advice, if you had to give an advice to parents with younger kids, let's say 5-year-old younger, what would be your best advice? Because
Um,
the kids are not as self sufficient, I guess, right?
yeah. So I was gonna say, what we've been doing that's been really helpful for him because he really misses his friends aside from his teacher doing the Zoom calls where he gets to see some of the friends. We found we already knew a couple kids that lived in our neighborhood, but we found a couple more and randomly he made a friend in the backyard today. We didn't know that we had a neighbor with a kid. We've never seen him. And I heard him talking and I was like, "What?" So what we've been doing is walking over to our friends' houses and his friend stands across the street and they race across the street from each other, racing bikes or just yelling at each other from across the street, throwing sand or dirt or whatever. It just, they need that interaction. They're so little, they don't understand what's going on. So that's been really helpful. And so one day his friend will walk over towards our house and they'll talk across the street and then we'll go over towards them. So that's been nice. We do a little walk around the block and go see a friend. And then I just, he, I'm not a, oh, no TV, no YouTube mom. I mean, I let him do that stuff too, whatever makes him happy right now. And, you just have to, you can't be that strict right now. You can't be like, no way, I won't let them use electronics. Like, that all the kids are on it. Just, if you want to manage how long they're on it, of course. But, whatever they want right now, I think you just kind of have to give in a little bit, even though, you feel that they're younger.
And Jessica, I remember you coming to the office, for several years now with your little one when he was how old? Maybe even a baby, no?
He was little. He was wild and he's a runner. So,
Yeah, yeah. So,
so
yeah.
he's
So just for people to know that's
right now, from the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed, I don't really get a break. I mean, he's all day going, going, going. So it's always an adventure. Right now, he says the dog is a dinosaur. So he's like, won't leave the dog alone. A dinosaur hunter. So what I found that was really fun, and if any parents see this, TikTok has, little things, interactive filters you can put on, and I found a dinosaur. So it looks like a T-Rex is standing next to you on TikTok. So I made a bunch of videos. I made a bunch of videos with him with a T-Rex standing next to him, and now he's like hunting around the backyard for dinosaurs or
Awesome.
yeah.
yeah.
What other ideas you have for to keep the kids busy, but like productive busy?
He's an artist, so I know I have a ton of crayons, colored pencils, and I just tell him, draw me a picture of this or draw me a picture of that, and he can draw for a long time too. He loves drawing. So if you have a little artist on your hands, break out the crayons.
Yeah, my kids we live in a urban setting, and so, with the sidewalk chalk, they just colored the whole block basically. So like, let them at it. That's simple. Everybody can get a box of chalk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah,
fun. Chalk your walk and
Yeah.
wrote like messages and a
Yeah,
lot
that
of
was
people.
sweet.
Do you find yourself playing games with your kids that they never played and you played when you were kids? Now is the time to bring retro back. Like, do you want to give some examples? Because some of you are like, oh yeah. What kind of games?
I
Good.
haven't yet. Has anybody else?
Oh, well, we've always been like a big board game family. So my kids love Monopoly and they love playing the game of life, which is what I played when I was a kid. So that was awesome. But when we had the rain last week, we had these like leftover balloons from a birthday party in the house, and somehow we were like batting those around like volleyballs in the house, and that was provided hours of fun for all of us. So
Yes, I love that. We pulled out Clue, and my daughter is an absolute like whiz, so nobody wants to play with her anymore. Not true. She loves playing it now, though, of course. So we've done that too. We pulled out lots of board games, Yahtzee. We also pulled out the Wii, which
Oh,
is
that's cool.
that's kind of going a little not as retro as our childhoods, but it's going a little old school. And another thing, what was it I was just going to tell you? I don't remember. It will come to me. Shoot. I got stuck on Clue. I'll come back to it, but
It's
yeah.
okay. It's going to come back. Susan, what do you have?
We love playing games with our kids, but we recently realized that some of the games that I grew up playing, they hadn't really played before, even simple games like checkers. And my family, when I was a kid, played a lot of different card games, and so we're teaching those to our kids now, and they're loving it. We also pulled out the game Ticket to Ride, which is such a fun game, and it teaches geography, and so they're learning geography in a fun way, and they don't necessarily even realize that they're doing it. So that's been a fun one too.
Yeah, more like practical games.
It was
Katie?
ping pong. Our dining table is turned into a ping pong table. You can get those, nets that unroll and you attach them to your dining table. So that's something I grew up playing was ping pong, and so now it's that ball that you hear throughout the night now. So that one's fun.
Yeah, and someone wrote over here, Kim, can you actually unmute yourself? You actually in the platform. You can share with us. What are you guys doing? With your husband is doing what?
Oh, I said my husband is teaching us all how to play poker. It's like a dream come true for him. We're just playing with nickels or sometimes just with the chips, but the kids are actually getting pretty good. It's a life skill for later on.
That's great.
Right. Survival. Well, what do you, Jessica? I'm going to ask you a question because you have really a young kid. When do you find the most efficient time to get things done work-wise with your real estate? What are the things that you do? Morning, afternoon, evening, never?
I think it would be morning time. That seems like it's the most productive time because he doesn't want to do his work right away. So both my kids I have to argue with a little bit to get them to do their schoolwork. So if it's the morning that he's arguing with me, then I'll be like, okay, go watch TV for a little bit, go do your thing, and then I'll focus on my own stuff for a little while. So I think morning time's a little bit easier with him, even though I have them on the breakfast, shower routine. If they don't want to do their work, I'm not going to give myself the headache of fighting. Then we'll circle back to it in a couple hours and, I'll get myself some time. So that's how I'm kind of doing it.
Got it. Okay. Jessica? Same question?
Yeah, well, we're good because we're just in a different space, I think, because the kids are older, so
Sure.
they don't bother me, I don't bother them. Most of the time, I don't bother. I mean, one of my kids has a YouTube channel, and sometimes he'll be recording, and I'll walk in, and I'm like telling him to fold his socks or something, and I have no idea that that's happening. So, there's a little bit of crossover, I think, on both sides, but everybody just needs to
To put a sign outside recording, or so.
Oh, he did.
Live.
Yeah, he did. After that last fatal incident, yeah, they put a big sign up with bright letters. So I think, interference on both sides, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
And for me, it's a morning is best. I'm also working a second job full time from home right now, and so intermixed with that are the KW offerings that are the online trainings and whatnot, which have been awesome. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Kim, and everybody else, Stephanie. So yeah, early mornings are probably best for me before the day really gets rolling, and then I do some in the evening as well.
Yeah, awesome. Susan, do you want to add more from your point of view? And once again, if you missed it at the beginning, you can go to mommyhighfive.com. I showed on the screen earlier, and I'm going to drop it in the chat box as well, mommyhighfive.com, and check out what Susan is doing, and they're doing an amazing job over there, sharing resources and really funnel a lot of good ideas and agendas to the busy, I guess, moms and dads, right?
Yes. I find for me it's easiest to get a lot of my work done in the morning, like I said, while my kids are doing their schoolwork, or after they've gone to bed when it's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you in real estate, I'm guessing more. I mean, there's never really a good time or a bad time. I mean, I don't know if you want to call someone at 5 a.m. I mean, you can call me. I'm gonna pick up the phone, but too early, or maybe after 10 p.m., 9 p.m. it's maybe too late, right? It's more maybe an appropriate time to do some admin follow-up and in social media. You can schedule posts and stuff like that, and work on a database. But like you've mentioned, I mean, I guess the best time, because people keep asking also over here, is in your case, and under those circumstances, pretty much when the kids are busy and focusing on something. That's what I hear. And if it's in the morning, great. If it's in the late morning, fantastic. If it's the afternoon or evening, fine as well. Whatever works. Once again, as long as you have some kind of routine, so you're not gonna go crazy, and they're not gonna go crazy as well, right? So and I'm guessing nothing is really perfect. Not once again like super early or late when they're asleep, but during the day while the kids are on battery mode, if you can get your 2 hours clean, straight, hyper focused on making calls or whatever, which is probably rarely going to happen anyways, because there's going to be interruption, that's okay too. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I was talking with another accountability group that I have, and we were all talking about how grateful we are that we're in real estate, because the business does give you the flexibility to be able to sort of, if your kid is hungry and you need to make a quesadilla or whatever it is, that you can go back and finish up your day, that you're not going to be railroaded and taken out because of this. Yeah, it's different because we're all on top of each other and but but we have a pretty flexible business as long as we know how to navigate, I suppose.
Yeah. Katie, anything you want to add? You were saying something.
No, I just think that's one of the things I'm really grateful for as well. And this is such a unique season, and everybody's trying to kind of find a new equilibrium. And so I think we really have a benefit here. I think Julie mentioned this on one of the classes yesterday, that we have an opportunity here to learn all of these new techniques and technologies and modes of connecting that really are time saving and create such efficiencies in our business. So I'm loving it, that aspect of it, I should say. And as mentioned at the onset of this call, we're definitely making lemonade, and I think we're going to come out, in a better place. I believe that on the other side of this.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's yeah.
True.
That's an awesome attitude for sure. Anything else you ladies wanna share before we're gonna get off the call? Jessica's enjoying the sun.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
You're
Oh,
very
beautiful.
welcome, Jessica.
You're getting vitamin D. Go out with your kids if you have to. Just get outside. It's so pretty today. So that's what I've been trying to make sure that we stop watching the news. Don't turn it on with your kids and scare them. Just get out and make the best of the situation. And yeah, learn every new technique that you can while you squeeze in the time when you're not yelling at them.
Yeah, everybody just hang in there, right? I mean, we're just doing what we need to do, and we'll all get through it, and hopefully for the better.
Yeah.
And I think creating a rule of life is really helpful for times like this. In general, I think it is, but we kind of have a new normal now to establish. So even sitting down and saying, what things feed your soul? What things really bring you delight and make you feel grounded and centered? And listing those things out from small to big and doing more of that. To just keep us all centered and connected and communicating with one another. So, yeah. That would be my parting words.
That's awesome.
I have a question for on your website. Is it a paid site, or we just can go on there for resources and all that?
Oh, you can go on there for resources. We're just trying to give more resources to parents, and I think right now, for me, the biggest thing is remembering to be patient with ourselves and with our kids. And someday we'll look back at this and wonder how we ever did it, but taking things a day at a time and recognizing the good things that we're doing and the good things that our kids are doing, and trying to be in the moment and enjoy the time we have together.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I want to thank you for your time and taking an hour away from the kids, and it was hard.
Thank you.
But thank you, Katie, Jessica, Diaz, Jessica Coyle, Kim. Thanks for sharing, and Susan with mommyhigh5.com. Thank you as well for making yourself available and joining the call and giving so much value to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Meg.
Amazing.
stay safe, everybody, and be well. And
Thank
thank you so much. Yeah. Bye,
Can
everybody.
I clarify one thing real quickly?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to let you know, Jessica, back to your question, if we are a paid site, we do receive, we are an affiliate for Amazon. So if someone buys something through our site, we do receive a small commission. But many of our articles are purely resource-based. We've put out quite a few articles recently about how to deal with all of these coronavirus-related issues, as far as having a birthday party virtually or dealing with having kids at home and ideas for them to do. So we hope you'll use this as a resource.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I posted. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. And I did post the link in both platforms, on the Facebook Live and on the Blue Jeans. So yeah, please go and check it out. It's I think it's amazing and resourceful and valuable. That's what we had Susan join us on the call today. So once again, thank you so much, Susan. Ladies, thank you so much. Be safe and keep it busy and keep the kids engaged as well. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good job, everybody.